Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Hong Kong records its first untraceable COVID case in nearly 3 months, triggering fears of a silent transmission. The vaccine bubble scheme is pushed back until well after the Lunar New Year, but schools will be included. And the Hong Kong Alliance's Chow Hang-tung is jailed for 15 months for inciting others to join a banned rally. A man who tested preliminary positive may be Hong Kong's first untraceable local case since early October, raising concerns about a silent transmission chain. This comes amid signs that the Omicron cluster at the Moon Palace restaurant may rise to 7. Johanna Chan reports.
Block 2 of Choi Ning Garden in Tuen Mun is under lockdown tonight after a 42-year-old resident tested preliminary positive. He has the N501Y and T478K strains and has not been to the Moon Palace restaurant.
At this stage, we could not find out the source of infection of this case. So this is worrying because that signifies there might be a silent transmission chain in our community.
The patient has been admitted to North Lantau Hospital. A 13-year-old girl, meanwhile, may be the 7th case in the Moon Palace cluster after testing preliminary positive. She had eaten at the Festival Walk restaurant with her 50-year-old mother, who tested positive earlier. Government advisor Yeung, who inspected the restaurant with Ao today, advised people to dine at home if they feel unwell. He noted that the aircrew member who spread the virus at Moon Palace had a headache and diarrhea the day he dined there.
These index case, who has been sitting there for more than 1.5 hours, may be shedding a lot of virus. And these viruses are being carried by the air current through the crevices in the partitions of all those smaller rooms and also trapped at the corners where air stagnation occurs.
Yeung said most of those infected had been sitting near the corners. The Electrical and Mechanical Services Department has fixed the restaurant's ventilation system, which Yeung said was unbalanced. He also did not rule out indirect transmission, such as through the use of teapots. Authorities today found the 6 missing customers who visited Moon Palace on December 27th and took them to quarantine. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
The government has pushed back its plan to expand the vaccine bubble to late February to allow more time for premises to prepare and people to be vaccinated. But the anti-COVID scheme will also cover schools, libraries and museums, apart from restaurants and leisure venues. Johanna Chan has the details.
Meeting the press this morning, Chief Executive Kerry announced that vaccine bubble measures will be tightened on February 24th, 7 weeks from now. This came just days after Health Chief Sophia Chan said people need at least 1 jab before the Lunar New Year to visit scheduled premises, such as restaurants, cinemas, gyms, and beauty parlors. But now, the government has also included schools, public libraries, and museums in the vaccine mandate. Lam said the authorities are discussing whether only school staff and teachers should be vaccinated. Statutory bodies like the Housing Authority and the Urban Renewal Authority have been urged to get their employees vaccinated, but there are no plans yet to tighten measures in shopping malls or private workplaces. The government's push comes amid fears of a growing Omicron cluster, which Lam admits can hinder plans to reopen the border.
I will not deny that that has an impact, which means that we will have to wait another while before we could put in place this very sought-after resumption of normal travel between Hong Kong and the mainland.
The government had been working on quarantine-free cross-border travel before Omicron emerged in the city. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
Hong Kong saw 39 cases today, 26 of which were asymptomatic. There were 3 local infections, including a 66-year-old woman who had dined at the Moon Palace restaurant. 36 cases were imported. Many countries are seeing new daily records due to the fast-spreading Omicron variant. with more than 1 million new daily cases in the United States alone. Relapses have occurred in some countries that had managed to keep COVID under control. Winner Wong reports.
A record of over 1 million new daily cases. That was the grim number reported by the United States yesterday as the highly mutated Omicron variant swept across the country. The new high comes just days after the previous one-day record of almost 600,000 infections. India is also experiencing a relapse with over 37,000 new cases today, the highest since early September. In a bid to prevent a repeat of the devastating numbers seen during the summer last year, the authorities slapped a weekend curfew in the capital, New Delhi. Australia is also reporting record-breaking levels of transmissions. New South Wales had over 23,000 cases today, beating the New Year's Day record of 22,000. Authorities said people should get vaccinated and stick to social distancing measures.
We need to do that because the number of cases that we expect to see in hospitals have already increased significantly over the last 10 days, and we expect to see those trends continue.
Holidaymakers on the MCS Grandiosa had their cruise abruptly cut short after more than 100 people tested positive for COVID. The vessel is now docked in the Italian port of Civitavecchia. Britain is also dealing with a surge in cases thanks to Omicron. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned hospitals to face considerable pressure over the next couple of weeks. But Education Secretary Nadhim Zahawi says there are no plans to shut schools for now. Winner Wong, HKIBC.
Back in Hong Kong, the former vice chairwoman of the now defunct Hong Kong Alliance has been jailed for 15 months for inciting others to join a banned June 4th rally last year. The sentence means that Chow Hang-tung, who is already serving a one-year term, will spend 22 months behind bars. Inciting reports.
A correctional services van drove Chow Hang-tung to West Kowloon Magistracy this morning. The former number 2 in the Hong Kong Alliance, which organized June 4th vigils, was accused of inciting people to take part in an unauthorized assembly last year. She published 2 articles on social media on May the 29th, the same day that police rejected the Alliance's request to hold a vigil. Her Facebook post included phrases like, "People should know what to do on June the 4th. Chow said she would light a candle that night at a place where people would notice. She wrote a similar column in the Main Pao newspaper on June the 4th. Magistrate Amy Chan ruled that the 3 articles encouraged, persuaded, and suggested readers to join the unauthorized gathering. Chow had early argued that it was illegitimate for police to ban the vigil on public health grounds. But the magistrate said under the Public Order Ordinance, concerns over public health was a reason to outlaw the assembly. During mitigation, Chow said she didn't regret publishing the articles and would not be afraid of speaking out.
Chow Hang-tung tried to talk about the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown, but the judge stopped her, saying it was a form of political expression. Her supporters who cheered her were evicted from the public gallery, with the judge warning that they could be held for contempt of court.
Chen sentenced her to 15 months in jail, saying it was Chow's obvious intention to incite the public. But 1/3 of the sentence will be served concurrently, with the 12-month term imposed earlier for inciting and taking part in the June 4th rally, which was also banned in the previous year. This means Chow will stay behind bars for a total of 22 months. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's taxi services hang in the balance as thousands of drivers might have their insurance policies terminated within days. This comes after Target Insurance said it could cancel the policies because of commercial concerns arising from the prolonged suspension of its foreign currency investments. Target insures 60% of Hong Kong's taxis. More than 10,000 cabs could be taken off the road if the drivers cannot find replacement insurers. Chow Kwok Keung, who heads a taxi association, described Target's move as ridiculous. The insurance authority is in touch with other insurers to see if they will take over the policies. Kerry has dismissed claims by the Western media that online outlets Stand News and Citizen News closed down because the national security law had a chilling effect. The chief executive pointed out that the West has stricter national security laws.
I could not, on behalf of these two organizations and the responsible people, to explain what do they mean by a chilling effect. But I certainly would strongly refute any allegation that this is related to the implementation of the national security law. If implementation of the national security law would undermine press freedom, then we will not be seeing any press freedom in the Western world. You name me, which Western country does not have national security law? They have national security legislation far more draconian.
Legislative Council President Andrew Yeung will serve for another term after no one challenged him for the post. Yeung was nominated by pro-establishment camp leader Martin Liao and was seconded by 13 other lawmakers, including Priscilla Leung, DAB chairwoman Starry Lee, and New People's Party leader Regina Ip. Yeung said he was honored to be chosen following the legislative elections under the revamped electoral system. He said he will guide the 90-member legislature to do a good job and coordinate with the government. And coming up after the break, medical technology firm founder Elizabeth Holmes faces 80 years in jail after being convicted of fraud.